Happy Blur's Day to you all from my New York bubble. I hope you, your family, and anyone in your pods is doing well today, or is at least, as we say, pandemic good. I'm also hoping your holidays have been a source of both physical rest and perhaps some rejuvenation of the soul. What more to say about 2020 except to say goodbye, good riddance? Maybe. While lamenting a period of so much pain, dislocation, and aggravated inequities, we should recognize at least, and in profound gratitude, all that the community of committed colleagues in education have done across the world to stand up for and with the communities they serve. Do not think it is not seen, dear colleagues. Despite the cacophonies of complaints that may arise, especially from well-entrenched sidelines, nor that it is not understood as an insistence, a persistent attention to the urgently important, a principled stance of service to the important, and that your service amidst it all has reminded so many in our wider communities of what is essential about the daily work of education. Your endurance, and yes, there is the miracle of simply showing up these days and days and days. Your insistent service has also joined a wider and longer tradition across the world, one that is prophetic in nature, that calls us to our better selves, that insists that as a people we must look squarely at and work daily to solve, to accompany, to heal, the exposed and aggravated deep wounds in our societies, and not walk away, not wait for it to pass, for unrest to calm, to not pretend we can build back anew apart from the multiple and conflicting truths we live and should be seeing afresh, even more vitally, more in common than before. The wounds aggravated and exposed this last year of kids in barren kitchens, neighbors to those learning remotely with 5G Wi-Fi at their kitchen tables. We've learned, I hope, again, that these wounds are our wounds. The shared pain we must feel at the injustice to any of our neighbors. In a time of market-supported segmentations, media interested and politically exploited polarizations, of national reckoning with racial, indigenous, and class divisions, of our inattention to neighboring lives lived so separately and seemingly foreign to us, objectifiable by us. Amidst all that, our school leaders work in an area of the world that has no choice but to answer the cries, salve the wounds, and support those who will join us as adults in our still emergent democracies, as we justify why we teach this to whom and why. Educational leaders of all sorts inevitably also answer for us what we support in our becoming, not just in individual graduates, but in what our society means to be as it grows beyond its too long and profoundly anxious adolescence in which we still fall short of our professed ambitions. We face no less a challenge, no less an opportunity, than to reshape what we might then truly become as we, in each of our societies, wrestle with our painful truths, with no panaceas evident anywhere, and a desperate global cry to face with clear eyes the systemic ways in which we harm our neighbors, inside and out. One must hear across our world the primal screams to heal the traumas and build finally the collective house in which we embrace the other, in which we confront in humility our own contributions to the traumas of others, in which we own our ignorances and embrace the other and the exhilarating opportunity of our civic communion of purpose. We saw whole traditions of schooling stop, reinvent themselves in a week, as prior purposes and practices took on a wearied look. Our quiet doubts about our work walked out of the shadows and danced among us this year, beckoning a response. Just dare call this a technology fix and hear the laughter of the sirens. A soul-wrenching moment, a soul-caffeinating invitation from our world. Our educational leaders work astride that portal to our promises, work done in the messy daily confines of schoolyards, hallways, and now Zoom rooms. We lead in order to develop others. Our moment insists, as it always should, that we also lead in a renewed prophetic vision of our work, a call to make real the pretty language of the unrealized polis, all made tangible in the very dailiness, the get there in the morning and stay at it all term despite the exhaustion, quotidian routines of schooling. I have learned a great deal from educational leaders across this hemisphere, and especially in the last year. It ranges from the sheerly practical, wow, you can do that with Zoom, to introductions to whole areas of pertinent research, new initiatives, and on-the-ground practitioner inquiries. More specifically, I have learned from leader colleagues, especially at Penn, but across the area, 3 buckets of things these last few months. Learning that pushes further refinement to what is a slightly tired but still useful metaphor of leadership. Nearly 20 years ago, Heifetz and Linsky spoke of leadership as requiring movement, back and forth from the dance floor to the balcony, from daily interactions with students, colleagues, and families, to reflections and perspectives we can only get from some distance. A lot of what we do seems to fall into these sorts of categories. For the dance floor, how are you handling health guidelines where you are? How are you handling the fact that no one seems completely happy, no matter what you do about closing or opening school? For the balcony, what organizational theory might inform my inquiry stance and help me see more insightfully what's going on in my organization? How might network analysis provide an X-ray into my community's informal leadership webs, leaders who can help improve our school's outcomes? But I'm impressed with how leaders' work and reflections this last year have enhanced that metaphor, dance floor and balcony, in 3 profoundly powerful ways. First, as has been difficult to view in a company this year in particular, the intensity of the dance floor can exhaust us profoundly. Working here to address racial injustices amid a raging viral pandemic accompanied by severe economic dislocation, surreal politics, and mental health crises. We need to support each other in that painful challenge. Offer a space of respite and healing, share tips and tools and resources of personal care so that we can even stay standing on the dance floor, let alone see where the staircase is located across the sweaty fog of a tiring daily movement. Indeed, we need to practice radical self-care, more deliberately perhaps than ever before. We need to practice radical other care as we can as well. We have been called by the brutal specter of our fragile mortalities to watch out for our colleagues, their spirits, and their health with an intensity as bracing as it is critical to our community's integrity. Second, that dance floor has a roof, and our pandemics have forced us up there in a hurry, as your leadership has testified across this region. Why am I in this dance hall anyway? Why is it that other dance halls are so much nicer? Who's in that one? Why? What drives this bigger picture? How do I understand and then affect those drivers that so affect my students and families? Context reigns supreme from up here. And leaders must develop continually the analytics to understand theirs strategically. Network analysis, geospatial mapping, what Raudenbush categorized under, quote, ecometrics to complement our psychometrics. Educators this year witness to how so much can in fact change in one's context. And in some cases, for changes sought over years of resistance, in a minute changing earlier this year. Your work has also testified to how much our disinvestment and negligence in certain communities has slammed into desperation whole communities of our neighbors. When viewed from the roof, when those gross inequities can be viewed in stark reality, justified rage often results. It's a year of in-your-face inequity. You can't learn remotely with no device or Wi-Fi. You can't watch remotely your kids learning at home if work requires you on the front lines to keep your home. You can't wash your hands for 20 seconds when they shut off the school's water months ago. There's justified, profound anger and gut-wrenching frustration. Yet Ernie Cortés, a veteran community organizer in the US, speaks of the need to convert our rage into a, quote, cold anger. One that doesn't lose the drive, but taps it to sharpen one's analysis of the context of the environment affecting an injustice. Discipline righteous anger by cold analysis so as to improve your chance of righting the wrong, urged Cortés. How do I learn that analysis? How does that shift the preparation of educational leaders? For example, is Yuval Levin right about our underlying condition of detachment from labor markets, from traditional institutions, from religious organizations, from political parties, etc.? And that detachment makes us especially susceptible to divisive demagoguery? Well, if that analysis is right, what does it imply for us in education, for our local institutions? Or if Douglas Downey's recent book's analysis is correct, and schools mostly reflect societal inequalities rather than cause them. If that's accurate, how then should educational leaders proceed? How do we prepare school leaders able, yes, to lead schools, certainly, but also able to diagnose and then lead change in the non-school ecosystem that determines their ability to educate their students fairly? Our shared moment and the blatant, visible nature of unfair non-school influences on kids forces this view from the roof, a disciplined, empirical analysis, an insistence on locating fundamental drivers to the hall, the dance hall, being what it is and where it is. Perhaps energized just a bit by that cold anger that Cortés described. Third, and finally, that dance hall has a basement, a foundation, all sorts of premises that serve as skeletal support beams. 9 months into our moment, we're way past the glib mission statements, or should be. In an era when all sorts of assumptions about our history of racial injustice, about our present oppressive systems, about our democratic fragilities, about our access to fundamental human supports like healthcare, have accompanied questions about what the shape of schooling can or should be. It changed on a dime in many places. Skills were upgraded in an anxious rush. Sacred cows fled out of faculty rooms left absent by closure, from exam practices to pedagogies. And then what do I as a leader actually still believe after all this? What are the support beams that a new hall would need? And how does my own basement, who I am, what I believe, fit into all this after so many years in these halls? In the basement, in this moment, we can easily turn deeply skeptical, fuel a solipsistic withdrawal into a blanket of cynical pessimisms. I have learned, though, from many of you, how to reach deeper, dig more profoundly, assert a renewal of soul so as to buttress a beam or two in our own basement. Many educators this year have spoken of this need to reach deeper, yes, to manage the mental health strains, serious as they are, but also to revisit fundamental beliefs, presumptions, dispositions. Some have sought perspective in mindfulness practices, others insisting in deep dives into fictional worlds of rich novels, others via the arts, others via re-examinations of spiritual and or religious roots. When everything on the floor, in the hall, in the world, from the roof, seems at play, what is my foundation? From what well do I draw, and how do I dig some deeper wells to sustain me in rebuilding all those support beams with my colleagues? I'll confess to learning for several years now, a bit surprisingly to me, from some American Trappist traditions, and from the challenge of rather disorienting novels like those of Italo Calvino, and again lately, from the powerful prose of James Baldwin. So many educators this year have added to my list of reflective practices, to readings of a foundational sort, as we all explain anchors in a world so forcefully fluid. So please pardon a rather long and perhaps overly metaphoric message. It's a narrative heavy guy's effort to convey how much the persistent prophetic work of educational leaders this year has inspired foundational rethinking in a sustaining, nurturing way. We're not a community of happy talk in education these days. We're one, I hope, of real conversation, though, about the world as it is, painful now. And as we hope it will be in its next moment, we are called to lead that moment, to model community in a too-atomized world, and to rejuvenate the soul of our work. Rejuvenation from basement to roof. Thank you for your kind attention, and have a great conference.